this is all about the biology of behavior. Now let's have this one. So why do we need to study the nervous system and the glands? How could we possibly understand any of our behavior, thoughts, or actions without knowing something about the incredible organs that allow us to act, think, and react? Okay, so it's not enough that it's there, but also we need to understand why it is there and how it functions. So if we can understand how the brain, the nerves, and the glands interact to control feelings, thoughts, and behavior, we can begin to truly understand the complex organism called a human being. So at the end of this lecture, you are expected to identify the parts of the neuron and the function of each, explain the action potential, and describe how neurons use neurotransmitters to communicate with each other and with the body. Okay, so our brains and our nervous system and the substances they produce are amazingly complex nuanced systems. So even though we are always talking about our mental activities being somehow separate from all the biological stuff going on in our bodies, in reality, the moods, ideas, impulses that flash through our minds are spurred by our biological condition. So as psychologists like to say, everything biological is always biological. Okay, so what are the nervous system, neurons, and nerves, and how do they relate to one another? So in this chapter, we will explore a complex system of cells, chemicals, and organs that work together to produce behavior, thoughts, and actions. So one way to understand how your mind works is to actually look at how the chemistry of your body influences how you think, sense, and feel about the world around you. To do that, we begin at the simplest level. Let's start with the part of this complex arrangement, which is what we call the nervous system, or a network of cells that carries information to and from all parts of the body. So before beginning the discussion of the cells that make up the nervous system, let's take a look at this figure. This is the structure of the nervous system. Okay, so there are two systems of the nervous system. We have the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. So under the central nervous system are the brain and the spinal cord. So the brain interprets and stores information and sends orders to muscles and glands, while the spinal cord is considered as the pathway connecting the brain and the peripheral nervous system. So both of them are very important in the central nervous system. While the peripheral nervous system transmits information to and from the central nervous system. It has two subsystems, which are, first is autonomic nervous system, which automatically regulates glands, internal organs, and blood vessels, pupil dilation, digestion, and blood pressure. While the somatic nervous system carries sensory information and controls movement of the skeletal muscles. For us to better remember this easily, autonomic nervous system is the subsystem of the peripheral nervous system, which is in charge of those that we have no control of. So that's why the examples are the regulation of glands, the pupil dilations, because we cannot really control them because it is automatic. While the somatic nervous system, it carries sensory information and controls movement of the muscles or the skeletal muscles, meaning we can control these things or these stuff. Okay, so under the autonomic nervous system, there are two divisions. We have the parasympathetic division and the sympathetic division, which are very important when there is an emergency or a danger near your body. Why? Because the sympathetic division prepares the body to react and expend energy in times of stress. Of course, because our body needs to save energy, the parasympathetic division then maintains the body functions under ordinary conditions. So let's take, for example, a fire in your house. So there is a fire, medyo dako na ang fire, and then you felt anxious and you felt nervous because of course, there is a danger happening. And suddenly, while you are panicking, you carry the refrigerator out of your house. And after the event, when you were already outside, na-realize mo nga mabugat ang refrigerator. Kaya ano, kasi ka nga, kaya ano daw lang nga naalsa ko ito hiya. The act of carrying the refrigerator was because of your sympathetic division. Because nag-expend hin energy an imo body kay nag-send in information an imo peripheral nervous system or an imo brain nag-send in information ngadto han imo adrenal gland, and then an imo adrenal gland nag-release in adrenaline, which causes the spur of energy that made you carry the refrigerator. But of course, it's not normal that you always expend energy because there are other things that you need to do. Then the parasympathetic division will come into play. That is why naging normal na ang situation. Pagbuhat mo ang refrigerator, you were not able to carry it alone. Okay? So, amo ito ang function hininira nga duduha. These are for flight and fight situation. So, derela ito kay during mga fire, during when you are nervous, kumbaga, the symptoms like an imo butterfly in the stomach, the sweating of your palms, ito, mga sugad ito, are brought to you by the sympathetic division. Okay. So, this figure actually shows the organization, the whole organization of the nervous system. But of course, we need to study the very basic part of the whole nervous system,